We call this one the wonderful Wednesday edition of Game On. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming to a bit later than usual, but of course, you know what's been happening. Tribute to the fallen MD of Access Bank, Herbert Wigwe, who passed tragically a few weeks ago. But without further ado, let's get into the show. Of course, you know that we're also streaming live on YouTube, and you can also follow the show using our social media handles. That's X, Instagram, and of course, Facebook. I have two wonderful people here in the studio. One of them you're particularly used to. He's more like furniture right now. I'm talking about Onyewuchi Nwachukwu, who is the deputy editor of no, that's not Onyewuchi Nwachukwu. That is Onyewuchi Nwachukwu. Yes, that is Onyewuchi. Onyewuchi is not as pretty, trust me. But he's pretty much good looking as well in his own way. Thank you so much for joining us, Onyewuchi Nwachukwu, who is deputy, beg your pardon, Deputy editor of Sporting Life. Yes, thank you so much. Me. Always a pleasure.
She's actually Onye.
Yes, of course, and that's why the.
But you are not related. Yeah. No, she is Onye Obaro, and of course she's sports correspondent here at News Central Television. Oh yeah, it's your first time on the show, actually.
Yes, it's good to be on this side of the table. You know.
Yes, and of course you bring a certain unique touch to what things we'll be discussing. So without further ado, let's remind you that the Africa Cup of Nations is currently going on I beg your pardon, Africa Games currently going on in Accra, Ghana. It hasn't started officially, but some sports have started, like table tennis. And of course, you do know that Nigeria is doing pretty well in the tournament, in that competition so far. But the official Nigerian contingent departed Nigeria earlier today, and they were seen off to the airport by the Minister of Sports Development, Senator John Eno, and he actually went onto the aircraft with them, giving them words of advice, promising them that a grateful nation will reward its best athletes as well. That's him there on the comms on the aircraft, seeing off the Nigerian contingent. I think it's pretty inspiring. It's not every day that usually we see a dinner, send forth dinner, but this man is a proper send off. Who are you escort your guests, basically?
A proper send off with words, but these are the kind of things you see when you're taking your contingent to go represent your nation. But I would be worried about preparations for all the single team that have been set out here to represent Nigeria at the African Games. Preparations for the football team, preparations for the taekwondo team, the table tennis team already. You could see that coaching is giving them problem. They could not bond for a long time. Well, we know we are through to the quarterfinal in this team game. Arnold Quadri could not make it to get gold in the men's singles. And even the defending champion, Majide Omotayo, he did not even make it through to the semi-final of the competition.
Well, so is that
how they've been able to bond for a long time. So I'm concerned about the preparations for this team heading to represent Nigeria at the African Games.
So how would you describe the quality of preparations that this team has undergone? Onyinye has already basically just lit a fire in this team's preparations right now, saying it's probably not the best.
I can see you're having problems with both names.
I have to remember that one is Onye and one is Onyinye. Okay.
No, the fact of the matter is Onyinye and Tunde, we've never had very good preparations. That's in the
historically
in the public domain. We've never prepared well, because the African Games, the Olympic Games, the Commonwealth Games, they come after every 4 years, and ideally the preparation should start immediately after each game.
Yes.
But we don't get to do that. But you're not going to blame this minister. I was just appointed last year. But the fact of the matter is, taking from what he said, I think he was just on point, because we've had financial issues. Athletes, footballers don't get. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had to, make a very crucial intervention for the national teams. He released 12 point something billion naira to offset debt that have been owed over the years.
So, salaries, allowances.
Yeah, exactly. So the money has always been the issue. So this minister knew that back in the mind of these athletes, they will be thinking, are we going to be paid? Are we going to get our money? But he has documented that. It's in the public domain. Everybody has seen him say that these players will get their money. So I hope they'll get their money, because these athletes, this is the only thing they know how to do.
Yeah.
It's their means of livelihood, and you get to pay them for whatever they have done representing the country.
I totally agree. But one team that will be representing Nigeria at these African Games, making its debut actually, is the Arm Wrestling Federation of Nigeria, the Nigerian Arm Wrestling Federation. This is the first time in the history of the African Games that arm wrestling will be part of the games. And one man who is joining us all the way from Abuja in Nigeria here is the president of the Nigerian Arm Wrestling Federation. He has a very unique name. I like to call him Mr. Samuel L. Jackson, Mr. Armstrong, but he's Engineer Samuel Jackson. Thank you so much for joining us, Engineer. I'm sure you must be particularly delighted that in just a few years of existence, your federation will be making its debut at the Africa Games. How you must be ecstatic, really.
Yeah, thank you, Noiki. The issue is, number one, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to come on the studio. I want to say thank you on behalf of the athletes and the federation. Actually, we're not just new. We're going into 12 years now in existence. So, but like you said, this is the first time we will be representing Nigeria at the African Games. We've been to about 5 African championships all over Africa. We've hosted Africa twice.
You hosted one in Lagos here, yes.
Lagos here twice. And the good news was you are part of our story, you're part of our history. And the icing of the cake right now is seeing those athletes that have been with us for all these years, donning the colors of Nigeria. And not just donning the color of Nigeria, going there to perform wonders, which nobody's even see coming. So we will leave that out to when we get to Accra. But I just want to say thank you personally, and thank you to the News Central for the opportunity for us to tell Nigerians that arm wrestling is here and they're here to stay.
Well, 14 athletes, athletes from your federation will be representing Nigeria at these games as well. How confident that at least some of them will come back with medals of some kind of color, bronze, silver, or gold?
Actually, we're going with 15 athletes.
15, I beg your pardon.
We were fortunate the ministry was able to give us a last slot.
Okay.
About 2 days, 3 days ago, actually. They gave us 14 earlier, 6 female, then 8 male. But we're able to go another 1 male. Fortunately, it's from the Federal Road Safety Commission. It's from the road safety. But the good thing about it is, if you remember the last time we hosted, we were in Accra last year. And that championship has served as a qualifier for these All-African Games. So we went with the all the 15 athletes that we took, they qualified. And we had 10 gold medals, 19 silver, and 14 bronze. That was as a last year in the African qualifier. So the only difference is that some countries were not there, so they gave them some white cards. So I can still tell you officially, we came third last year. We are ranked third in Africa right now. So hopefully when we get to Accra, because they've been able to match some weight categories, so we don't even know how the dynamics of the weight category is going to look like. I can give you an instance. The female captain, BC Oyewusi, she had gold in 85 kg. But what they've done around now is they've made any 80 plus. So 80 plus weight category means every weight category from 80 above.
And above.
All of them, yes. So the 2 gold that we have there is a little bit dicey because we have the Egyptians are coming, then we have the South Africa for the first time joining the Africa when I was African president for some years back. So those are the areas, but be that as it may, we still sure that probably we will make Nigeria proud. We are fortunate to have 2 of our athletes to represent Africa at the World Combat Games late last year. That is the same BC and Mausi from Lagos State athlete. So where it's going to go, we are keeping all our fingers crossed. We've done the opportunity the ministry has given us to showcase our talents and our management skills. But we will still believe that, like Oye was saying, the preparation was not top-notch. We know, all of us know that it's not that nobody's trying to bring anybody down, but it's all over there. Well, I think based on the finances and the issue that they told us, maybe the president, within their means of doing things, we're still able to come out with a lot of small things, each is there and there.
Okay. Okay, Engineer Samuel Jackson, we really apologize for the short time. Of course, what he said was factors beyond our control. But thank you so much for joining us and just giving us an insight into what the Nigerian Arm Wrestling Federation has done over the last few years and what it will probably do at the Africa Games coming up in the next few days. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll be talking about that big fight in Saudi Arabia. It's Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou right after the break. Thank you for staying tuned. You're still watching Game On here on News Central Television and channel 422 on DSTV. We're having an abridged edition, but we cannot leave without talking about that big fight coming up on Friday. It's knockout chaos. Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. Two big men, two knockout artists. Somebody has to go down. And to talk about this is an absolute boxing legend. This man has been responsible for the careers of some of the athletes, some of Nigeria's finest boxers, and he's a boxing promoter, boxing manager, boxing journalist. He's a legend in the game. It's my pleasure to welcome Nnamdi Hollywood Maweta, joining us all the way from Los Angeles, California. Thank you so much for joining us, Nnamdi. And I'm sure, like everyone in this studio and this part of the world, you're pretty excited for what promises to be another Nigeria versus Cameroon clash.
This fight, because one, this are, like you said, these are two knockout artists and nobody back up, but somebody has to fight a very smart fight in order to not look stupid at the end of the night.
But how would you respond to those who are saying that this is still an exhibition fight? It's an Olympic gold medalist, a professional boxer, two-time heavyweight champion against an ordinary MMA artist. In quotes, how would you respond to that?
Well, Ngannou is a professional boxing novice that only had 10 rounds. This is not what we call a rangy fight, you know. I mean, guys have been knocked out and knocked down. How can you call that an exhibition? Saudi Arabia is putting up, listen, Anthony Joshua is making $50 million. Ngannou is making $20 million. Saudi Arabia will not put up that kind of money for an exhibition fight. It's a legit fight. And those that talked about it being an exhibition, go and ask Tyson Fury if that was an exhibition, you know, when he clashed with Ngannou the last time.
But what, okay, so I just have to ask this question now. Is Anthony Joshua's legacy on the line if he loses this? Will he go down in ignominy as the man who lost to a man who had only fought once in professional boxing? Or even if he beats Francis Ngannou, some will say, look, you beat an MMA star, no big deal. But is his legacy on the line?
Oh, definitely on the line. The defeat will be a disaster, really, to tell you the truth. Because one, Ngannou, that will be his second fight. And it depends on how he beats Ngannou. If he goes in there fighting with fear, hold, grab, and jab, and run around, and at the end of the 10th round, he wins a unanimous decision, the fans will still say, hey, that's a boring fight. So he has to come out, take the fight to Ngannou, break Ngannou down, and then knock him out. Anything less than that, Anthony Joshua will still have his haters and his critics.
But what about Ngannou? Does he pose a real legitimate threat, considering the fact that this is only his second fight, and he fought a man who a lot of people regard as one of the best boxers in the world, reigning WBC champion. But does he pose a legitimate threat to Anthony Joshua in terms of what he brings to boxing?
Oh, definitely, because one, Ngannou is a puncher. You know, he will always have a puncher's chance. If Anthony Joshua walks into a big right hand, Ngannou is going to step in and take him out. That's his chance of Anthony Joshua being knocked out cold Friday night. But Anthony Joshua has got a lot going for himself now. He's got a good corner in Ben Davidson. And Ben Davidson, you remember, used to train Tyson Fury. So they will go in there and map out a good plan. He has to start putting the rounds in the bag from the beginning of the fight. In the meantime, Ngannou is going to be looking for that one big punch. And at the end, remember also Ngannou from the Tyson Fury fight, he was running on empty gas towards the later part of the fight. So if AJ can break him down from the beginning, he stands a good chance of stopping him in the later part of the fight.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, quick seconds. I know that Ngannou is a hard hitter. Both fighters are southpaw fighters. I want to know what kind of finishing will Ngannou need to take down Anthony Joshua?
Both fighters are not southpaws, they are right-hand fighters. Ngannou has to take the fight to Joshua immediately, do what we call in the fight game a chin check, tag him right away. If he tags Anthony Joshua and Anthony Joshua gets scared and hold him, fight is over. But if he cannot establish that big one right hand and Anthony Joshua keep him outside, don't let him come inside, Anthony Joshua don't fight in the pocket, yeah, Ngannou cannot touch Anthony Joshua. Mind you, Anthony Joshua was one time a former world champion, you know? So some MMA guy coming to slap him around the ring, man, I don't think that would be real funny Friday night.
Well, Nami, I gotta ask, how is Saudi Arabia the new mecca of boxing? Now, it used to be Las Vegas, it used to be New York, Madison Square Garden, maybe London at some point in time. But all the big fights, all the fights that make sense, all the fights that make money seem to be going to Saudi Arabia. What's changed?
Atumba, I'm sure you've heard the word sports washing. And you know the meaning of that.
Yes, I
so
do.
we're not here to go into what the meaning of sports washing. They've been doing a good job. It's not only boxing, it's golf, it's motorsport, it's tennis. They're getting a big bang for their money because everybody's talking about it. But the fight is not a big deal in America because, hey, look, here in Los Angeles, we have to get up at 8 a.m. in the morning to watch the fight on a Friday. That just doesn't work. We're used to Las Vegas, 8 p.m. at night, 10 p.m. at night. So, but Saudi Arabia got the money, and they will dictate what time they want the fight.
Well, the world is changing as it is now, but thank you so much for joining us. We'll definitely have you back on the show on Friday, just minutes before that fight starts, so that we can finally get your thoughts on who you think will win. But thank you so much for joining us all the way from Los Angeles, California. Nnamdi Hollywood Moweta, the man, the myth, the legend. And thank you very much, Onyewuchi, for joining us. It's a pleasure. And Onye also for joining us as well. And to everyone behind the scenes who made this particular broadcast possible, thank you as well. But before we go, have you ever heard the word gurning before? Yeah, gurning is actually a real word. Well, gurning is a British word for pulling a grotesque face. And believe it or not, there's actually a competition for it, the World Gurning Championship. And gurning was sort of originated in 1297. In England, United Kingdom, was named after the crab apple, which is a pretty sour kind of pastry. And people who ate that pastry always made very funny faces. So, a face pulling competition, no?
I don't think I would go for this one. My face is too beautiful.
No, you wouldn't win. You definitely wouldn't win. But thank you to everyone who joined the show tonight. Game On makes a return tomorrow. My name is Babatunde Koiki. On behalf of the great people here, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.